have right now is WPA2, which stands for Wired Protected Access, and it's the second version. It has been found to have a vulnerability as of recent days though, so hopefully the powers that be are working on getting patches and fixes for that, but that's what we have right now. Universal plug and play should be disabled so that people just can't come in and plug a device into your machine and it start working on your network. Firmware needs to be up to date because security vulnerabilities do come in to play, and so the more up to date we are, the better our networks are secure. So latest security patches, install and configure firewalls. Always don't turn those firewalls off and forget to turn them back on. Firewalls use stateful packet inspection firewalls, so that's what our new routers have installed in them. And what they do is they look at that packet all the way down to the application layer instead of just looking at the addressing layer. So they really inspect much further down. And then if you want to be able to have others access a computer or server or a gaming console from an untrusted or public network, you can use what's called port forwarding on your router and let that come through. But you want to make sure that whatever machine that is coming through on is placed in like a perimeter on your network, and then there's another firewall that's between that machine and your actual internal network. And that perimeter network is usually referred to as a demilitarized zone, or DMZ. So we talked about this a little bit on protecting physical equipment. So logical security was what we've really went through with the software for the first part, and protecting our devices using software techniques. We need to protect that equipment physically as well. So we don't want somebody walking in and just picking up our equipment and walking out the door. So we need to store that important equipment in locked rooms or locked closets if it's data equipment. We can also put BIOS passwords. So instead of at the software level, at the Windows operating level, we can put a password at the hardware level in the BIOS. So you go through 2 layers of passwords before you, or 1 layer before you even get to the Windows layer where you put that in. Disable auto run and auto play, which again is like putting a CD-ROM in. If they put a malicious CD-ROM into your DVD drive, it could launch something within your system. So if you disable that to not run unless a user intervenes, that is another layer of protection. Then multi-factor authentication, we talked about. This shows a fingerprint reader here. Multi-factor authentication deals with something you know, something you have, and something you are. So a password, a key fob, and a fingerprint would be an example of multi-factor authentication. And then lock down all your equipment with security cables. If you have laptops that could go missing, there are security cables that can be attached to the desks that then lock that down. The reason why we attach it to a desk, because it's not as easy to walk out the door with a desk as it is to walk out the door with a laptop or a phone. Card keys, video surveillance, and security guards also. Of course, you're getting more into costly technology when you get to the card keys and the video surveillance and the security guards if the cost is warranted. But sometimes, and depending on your organization or your environment, those may be warranted costs that you need for securing that data. All right, so just to recap, logical security and physical security are both required parts of securing our data, and those have to be enacted through security procedures. The security procedure policy I showed just a minute ago had no security controls applied to it. So even though it's there, it's not doing anything. So you have to actually create those controls in order for that to be at its highest and most effective level. Any questions? A lot of stuff I just threw at you.
Yeah. A lot. I think I'm vulnerable.
How do you think you're vulnerable?
I gotta get home, get on my computer, and protect it.
All right, well, thank you all for helping me out with this little project. I appreciate it. Thank you, Julia, for filming.